Welcome on my first step ever. So excited to be entering into the last leg where we are about to reach 100 episodes of my first step ever podcast. On this 77th episode of my first step ever podcast, I'm so excited to introduce our guest speaker today to all of you because his journey makes us understand that there are a lot of moments in life that can change your thinking or probably can make you realign with who you really are or what you want to do. And that is an amazing experience. So please join me in welcoming Daniel Bullitt. Hi, Daniel. Welcome on my first step ever.
Hi, Shani. Thanks so much. It's a very big honor for me to be on your podcast and to be able to share my story with your audience. So thank you so much for the honor and the privilege.
It's completely my pleasure, and I don't want to reveal your age too much, but I would just like to tell everyone that you are in your early 20s for sure. And
Yeah, now mid-20s. So
it's really interesting that a person of your age, I think it's more about the experiences that you had, that you are now a co-founder of a company called Mindly Studios. So let me introduce you to my audience and listeners today. Daniel is the co-founder of Mindly Studio. He started Mindly together with his partner Natalia. I'm going to pronounce her surname. It's a Polish surname, but I think it's always an honor to introduce our guest speakers. So her name is Natalia Szczypek.
very close.
Very close.
She'll be happy about that.
I'm happy to know that. So friends, they co-founded Mindly Studios in early 2020 at the age of 23. That's amazing. Daniel was motivated to create a safe, inclusive, and fair world through design. He helps organizations through a human-centered approach where people are put at the center of problems and their voices can be heard. Now, I think this is something very, very amazing. We are all looking up and looking out for such kind of social startups or social businesses where the center of the heart of everything is people and we build solutions around them. So really happy that Mindly is doing that. Mindly is best known for designing user interfaces through user experience methodologies. We'll be learning a bit more about how it all came into being and what led Daniel to start Mindly. So they create growth opportunities for organizations through improvement of human well-being, satisfaction, inclusion, belonging, and increase efficiencies and effectiveness.
It's a mouthful.
Yes. Keeping aside, I mean, you're still very young, but keeping aside whatever your mindset is now and whatever you are passionate about, when you were growing up, were you always like this? If yes, why? If no, why?
Yeah, I had a lot of things that helped me become, I guess, who I am today. The first one is definitely my parents. They came to Australia after the wars in former Yugoslavia. So they came here looking for a better life. They came here not speaking any English, with very little money, and they just came here to be able to make a better life for themselves and for me. And I'm very grateful for that. So I grew up in a very loving family, and I got to learn a lot about teamwork and collaboration through my family. I was always very supported by my parents. They always believed I can be whoever I want to be and do whatever I want to do. So yeah, I'm very privileged in that sense. I was an only child, and I always had a crazy imagination. I always loved, making people happy through my ideas. So that was like how I got into creativity and wanting to come up with ideas that make people feel good. I also grew up in a suburb called Dandenong here in Melbourne, fairly low socioeconomic suburb in Dandenong. So one of the amazing gifts from that is that I went to school with people that came from all around the world, like pretty much. Now that I look back at it, it's probably most countries you can think of. There were people that were my classmates. So yeah, from fairly young age, I also began to really value diversity in different people's beliefs, thoughts, and ideas, and how all these different perspectives from diverse people brought together create really unique ideas and environments. Growing up, I also did competitive swimming. So I was training a lot. I was going to swimming before and after school, trained 10 times a week. And I really became resilient through my swimming practices. And yeah, growing up, I had just so many different passions and things I was interested in. I actually recently learned that it's called being a multi-potentialite, which is when, yeah, it's sort of like being a generalist. So people that love to learn a lot about different things. And then, yeah, it's usually stigmatized that, like, especially growing up, what do you want to be when you're older? And that makes kids think you can only be in one thing, whereas you can actually be so many different things. You don't have to just focus on one thing. So, yeah, I think thanks to having all these different passions, I've been able to understand lots of different things from different parts of the world, like science and philosophy and like games, just a whole bunch of stuff, music, and yeah, that sort of all helps me become who I am today. And I'm really compassionate. I really value diversity. I'm lucky to believe a lot in myself, thanks especially to my family and my parents. And yeah, well, it's led me to want to use my privilege in life to help others and to make the world a better place.
I can sense so much love and compassion as you mentioned. And I can just see that there was such a positive, platform for you to just grow from and just be yourself. And I really want to dig a bit deeper over here, because this is the kind of childhood, or maybe, a sort of a mental mindset or environment that everyone is seeking out for. I see you're very grateful to your parents, which is amazing, because I can definitely say when you come to a new land, actually making your own, living over there, it's very difficult. So you are actually bearing fruits of your parents' labor, but I'm sure you're giving them back equally. What I wanted to really understand is when you said that your parents they just made you feel like you have the power to do anything that you want, or for you to believe in yourself. Do you recollect or do you recall any such incidents, or the way they parented you that made you feel that way?
Always just very open-minded, and like they both grew up in fairly tough situations. Both of them grew up in Bosnia, and it's a very poor country, and they didn't have opportunities to many things in life. Like, both my parents wanted to study and go to higher education, but neither of them could because of, yeah, their own life situation. But yeah, they've always just, yeah, always believed in me and supported me in any way they could, whether it be, I don't know, just buying me a new gadget so I can learn how to use it, or just, yeah, encouraging me to try something new out, like swimming or guitar or any of my other lots of different passions. So I guess their mindset carried on through to me.
I think because they let you explore whoever you were or whatever you wanted to do, that really helped you shape your personality really early on. I could say that because you were able to, discover things in you probably very early on, because you had that liberty. It could be different in terms of economic ways, where how people do it. But I think what we really need when we grow up is compassion, love, and the feeling that someone places a trust in you that you can do whatever you want to. So that's really amazing. And I hope for all my listeners that if you're not able to find that person in someone else, try and be that person for yourself, because as Daniel said, not everyone gets the opportunity. But when you have been through hard times, and if you can help anyone one else, then you must. So moving on from here, there was also one very interesting thing that you mentioned over here, which was about that why do we place the stigma of becoming that one person throughout your life, and why you can't be multiple things if you have the talent and the passion for, which is very interesting. So having that mindset of yours that you could be anyone that you want to, did that ever confuse you to what to first get into, or what to start with, if you could share that?
I think because of that, I always stressed or anxious because, yeah, like you mentioned, usually, yeah, people want to become this one person, or want to focus on one thing, but there's so many different things and it's so hard to choose. And I really think just being open, just letting yourself explore and be an adventurer and try different things out and see what works and what doesn't, what you really love doing, and what is hard or what is easy, and just trying lots of different things out, and just giving it a go. Like there will never be the perfect thing that you can do, or this is like the one life's calling or life's purpose. There are lots of purposes and lots of callings, and yeah, just trying different things out and then seeing what works best for you is, I think, yeah, a good approach.
So while you're exploring out over there, you are meeting so many different people. At times your wavelength matches with certain people and at times it doesn't. So in that process, how do you maybe find those kind of people to be surrounded with that? Is that important for you?
I don't think that's as important. I think one of the most beautiful things I've learned is being open to all kinds of people is really valuable. Like, try and learn from someone that has the opposite beliefs from you. You'll actually learn something really interesting, and understand that there's this different way of life, and that your way might not be the best way, in fact, or that maybe you can learn something from the other person. But in general, it's really nice to have this sort of tribe of people that you can be part of, or communicate with, or be a collective with. And I think just maybe based on values, like what do you really value, and try find similar people just to have a belonging with, or be part of that tribe. Lots of different ways to do it. One of the ways I've done it since starting Mindly is through LinkedIn, just seeing different kinds of content from lots of different kinds of people, connecting, and yeah, just yeah, being part of that, and connecting with different people and learning from, yeah, everyone pretty much.
Now that really sounds something like, being open minded is really really. It's actually a very conscious effort to say so,
It
and
is, yeah.
and being able to imbibe other person's qualities that sort of matches with your values, and being able to respect the things that you feel that you might not be able to carry on further but still see it working for the other person. I think it's a very interesting world out there, to say so. But moving on from there, I believe after kind of experimenting in your early 20s, there was a time when you had a moment and you had an experience that kind of changed your mindset, or maybe that strengthened your entire reasoning of, or the purpose of life. Are you able to take us through that incident?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to. So that incident for me is what led to Mindly Studio. So yeah, I was 22 at the time, and I finished uni. I was working in a corporate job in a marketing team. I was learning a lot, and it was really great being part of a big team and doing lots of different kinds of tasks as part of the job. But there was always something missing for me, and yeah, I wasn't really happy with my career. I'm like, is this all that there is? I mean, it's still at a pretty early age. There was definitely a lot more I could learn and progress, but it was more the emotional sort of sense, and the meaning and purpose behind it. So Natalia and I, we both felt the same way, especially when 2019, 2020 bushfire season happened. We were like, what can we do? Like, what can we do to help with disaster that was happening around Australia? And we really wanted to do something to help, because we felt helpless by not doing anything. So yeah, we sort of had that moment, and we're like, all right, we need to do something better with ourselves, and have a more meaningful career. So we didn't have that much experience, whatever experience is in that sort of sense. So we just started brainstorming, what can we do with the skills that we have. So Natalia, the design background, I have the marketing background, and we thought, why don't we work with other companies to help them with design, and be able to impact them through this approach that we really value, which is the human-centered approach, and by putting people first. So yeah, it was a really challenging time, and we both had those limiting beliefs that we're both too young, and we don't have enough experience. And we started rationalizing this scarcity mindset by thinking, look, we're really young. We don't have any sort of big expenses or any sort of mortgages or anything that's holding us back. So we're pretty young. We don't have that many risks to take. Maybe this is actually the best time to try and see what this whole journey is about. So yeah, we we sort of took the plunge, and we quit our jobs and started Mindly Studio like that. And yeah, it was definitely the hardest part, those limiting beliefs, and it was very challenging. But yeah, we're very grateful to have started, and it was also very hard. Pretty much right after we started, COVID became COVID. Yeah, there was a time when we weren't making any money. We were in those strict COVID lockdowns here in Melbourne, and yeah, that was very challenging. But then we did this like seminar from Tony Robbins, and we learned, it's called Unleash the Power Within. And one of the biggest lessons I learned was that in business, success, or whatever you want to call success, is mostly 80% psychology and 20% strategy, or 20% actually doing things. And it's all about your mindset and being able to be confident in yourself and having the right mindset to push through the difficult times. So yeah, it wasn't easy, and it's still not easy, but the challenges are very different now than they used to be. And that's that little story.
That is definitely very, very brave of both of you. And congratulations, first of all, for taking the plunge, because I think you have gone through the biggest and the most scariest part of maybe starting a business. So congratulations.
Thank
um,
you.
i I really like the fact when you both had this limiting beliefs and these dialogues inside your head saying that why you can't do this, and then you turned into that why we should do this,
Yeah.
and kind of calculating the risks. That was really interesting, and I think that's a very, very good way for our viewers or listeners, that if you are at a crossroad and if you have a lot of questions in your mind, and if you say what if this happens, then you should also think of on the positive end, that what if that happens.
Mm.
And if you
Or what
think
if that or like the opportunity cost? So what won't happen if I don't do this?
exactly, that's an amazing way to evaluate things. And I think whatever you feel is that weighs heavier would be your option to go to. Because it's never a right or wrong way, it's always what you think you would like to do with the resources, and of course a calculative risk that you can take at that moment. So that's really interesting. Moving on from there, when you had your Mindly studio set up, you just said that you entered into COVID, and it was both I think negative and a positive for online businesses at that point in time. Was there any time when you felt, oh my God, I have made the worst decision of my life. I should have not left it because this COVID just hit and we don't have money. In that time, how did you know, just help yourself get out of it? Because now you're still running that's your company. So
Yeah, oh, it was very tough. There was one point where the time it was right after the first Melbourne lockdown, which was, I think was like 2 or 3 months. After that, we're like, oh, free of COVID, and we decided to get an apartment. Rent an apartment, and then we moved in. And then the second really long lockdown came into be, which was, I think, 3 or 4 months. And at that time, it was really stressful because we didn't have any money coming in. We had no any sort of leads to get any work, and yeah, we were paying rent and having more expenses than we used to. Yeah, it was a really tough time. There was one day where I had my first ever anxiety attack, and I was literally crying all day, which was, yeah, very interesting experience for me. It was really tough to get out of. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we did that Unleash the Power Within Tony Robbins event, which just gave us so much confidence. We just needed just to hear some positive talk to get us out of our slump and out of our negative mindset, and to just get a little like ignition or spark to help us continue through. And that little spark ended up really changing everything for us, because we did get one opportunity to get a client, and we were confident enough to get it over the line. And then we started working with them and started building this snowball effect of confidence and positivity. And we started believing in ourselves, and decided to keep on going. And yeah, those definitely moments were like, why are we even doing this? We should just quit. We can get a job and we can get so much more money and all those sorts of things. But yeah, we really believed in ourselves, even in the dark times. But yeah, we ended up pushing through, and I'm very grateful we did, because we've had a very very amazing journey.
Wow, I was so intently listening to it because, firstly, I would like to say that thank you for being so honest and being so open about sharing your feelings. It's not easy to share with so many people that what you felt, what you went through, because it's very personal. And but by doing that, I can assure you that a lot of people who are going through that situation can find some support. That even if today you feel like crying your heart out, do that, but get up tomorrow, seek for some help, because you need to keep moving on. It's good to take a break, to slow down, but I don't think so that none of us would like to give up on our dreams. So yes, thank you so much, Daniel. I think it was such an amazing, amazing episode of so much, so many interesting incidents in your life, and I've really enjoyed chatting with you. I really want to understand. This is just the last question. Like, for our viewers and listeners, can you share 3 actionable steps that gets them going with whatever they want to do?
Look, for me and my journey, it's all been about purpose, and I think no better way to find your purpose than to ask yourself, what can you do to make other people's lives better? Because what I've learned is that helping others is really fulfilling, and the end goal in life is to be fulfilled. To be fulfilled is just the best feeling you can have. You can also ask yourself, what makes you forget about time, and what would you love to do that just gets you in this flow state and makes you forget about time and you just enjoy it so much. Acknowledge your limiting beliefs, and as we mentioned before, flip them on its head and believe in yourself, and then realize that they're just limiting beliefs, and whatever you believe is what ends up happening or becoming true. So yeah, if you change that limiting belief into a like an empowering belief, your life will change instantly.
Great. Amazing 3 tips to end this amazing episode on. And I think my favorite would be the third one. Flip your limiting beliefs on its head, and you will find your answer for sure.
Yeah.
If each one of us have that power inside, and we always draw that strength from our own self in the most difficult time of our life. So don't ever forget that the superstar of your life is you. And thank you, Daniel, for being on my first step ever, sharing your amazing journey over
Thank
here.
you, Shani. It was absolute pleasure, and yeah, thank you so much for having this space where people like myself can share, but also for giving your beautiful audience the opportunity to hear different perspectives and stories too.
Lovely. Thank you. And before you leave, I always request my guest speakers to leave our listeners with a quote or a saying that they really resonate with.
Yeah, for me, a big one is I will find a way, or I will make a way. Yeah, that one really gets me to again believe in myself and to push through no matter how uncomfortable something might feel or how uncertain something might feel, and just to make sure make myself accountable that I can do.
What a wonderful quote. I will find a way or I'll make a way. Which really actually leaves you with the thought that you cannot get away with it. You have to find a way to your goal. So that's amazing. Thank you, Daniel, for being on my first step ever. And as I always say, start believing in yourself and keep believing in yourself. We'll meet you soon with another episode.